Yes, we believe that most of the voters are youth. And maybe I have to tell you that also the PDM during its elective congress that was in Katima Mulilo have 70% of Central Committee members, youth, young people. And also within our current hopefuls, parliamentarians, the candidates are also having a good number of young people. So we believe that in something that I always saying that the problem in this country is that young people are being, their affairs are being run by the elders in the interest of the elders and not of the young. And now we want to bring more young people at front so that young people can deal with issues that affect them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
We also believe that an end of a election is a starting of a campaign for another election. And I believe that, as you know, the PDM since 2019, we went into the whole issue of the pandemic. But also through the pandemic, there was also then the 2020 regional local authority elections. And then the pandemic also continued during 2021 and a bit of 2022. During that time, there were a drought, and we got involved with serving communities, especially during the time of drought. We work very closely with the Prime Minister's office, where we get some government trucks to take feeders to people in your poor constituency, poor urban and poor rural and poor constituencies. But also what we have done so much is to assess the livelihood of our people. Especially Honorable Vanani in that time was also, remember this time that he was now giving the credentials as the leader of official opposition, having an office, getting an off-track pickup, and have traveled so many regions where we have raised issues of government vehicles that are broken up and just parked in government garages, dilapidated government buildings. So we have raised a lot of awareness, and that was not only the awareness. We also have find out where is the challenges of poverty, of unequal economy in our country, and where can we help. And I have to tell you that we have identified the Kavango, especially the Kavango East regions and Kavango West regions, the challenge of water. Regions with plenty of water from the perennial rivers there, the Kavango River and the Chepe rivers, but these people having water scarcity to the extent that for you to wash your clothes, to cook and so forth, you should go to the rivers to fetch water, and people are eaten by crocodiles. So we have in some constituencies within the Kavango East region try to help people to bring water closer to the people away from the rivers. We also have identified a place called Rupara, where 32 Sheikh dwellers built their houses, and they have a challenge of water. We have already laid, I think a year ago, water pipes and trying to help them to really get water closer to them. Within 2 weeks' time, we shall officially open water for them, launch that program. We have helped where there is a need. You remember for the families that have a problem of people that died of food poisoning, we came on board and tried to help. We have gone twice now to Valfish by the 12 local residents. When their checks burn out, we try to come in and say, get these small mattresses and so on. We have gone to provide mattresses to schools also in the Kunene region. We have donated a clinic in Grunau, a mobile clinic. It's there. Unfortunately, I think the willingness of government to rightly use or make use of that clinic is our challenge. And that is the failure of government that we are very unhappy that there's both the regional government and the central government are reluctant to use that clinic. We have done a lot. We have come really on aid of people that are looking for some support, some problems. We have, through our leader of the official opposition, provided shoes to a lot of learners, school shoes in the Cholanjupa region. We have provided sanitary pads. We have done a lot, and I think our work in Parliament can speak a volume. Especially we have to introduce a lot of motions. I can mention one of the motions is the motions of calling for unemployment to be an emergency in this country, especially youth unemployment, a motion by Honorable Hangari that is now enjoying a priority, that unemployment is already an emergency. And if you see in many manifestos of political parties, they are talking about unemployment, and we have raised that awareness within Parliament. That motion was accepted. There is an issue with our health, especially when you have certain diseases like kidney problem or so. It was like a death sentence if you don't have a very strong medical aid. And you know that our public hospitals never have dialysis clinics and so forth. Through Honorable Mwongo, we raised some motions on provision of dialysis in our state hospitals. Currently, we have 2 dialysis clinics at Oshakati State Hospital and also Central Hospital. And we still continue to address some of these issues. We have stand with those that are suffering. Currently, you know, in 2018, that was long before elections. And people are saying, no, you just started that because you're going to elections. Long before the elections, because it was in 2018 when we taken the Russian billionaire to court for leasing resettlement farms for 99 years just to do business. That case is still on. Currently, it was postponed 3 consecutive times. On the 12th of November, we were waiting for a final judgment. That one is to stand and say that we can't give 4 farms to a foreigner for resettlement purposes to do business. A resettlement program is for Namibians. And what the Ministry of Land did is...
I think when you look at Botswana, it has been described as a stable democracy. It is a country with strong institutions. But you need also to look at it in terms of the history of the country, the way how the country got their independence, as well as the focus of the leadership after independence. I think there have been a lot of focus on public service, whether it is education, whether it's improving rural development, whether it is in your health system, and also building the economy. And generally, when people are overall satisfied, that reflects itself in the elections. But the dominant governing system in Botswana, one party governing, can actually be ascribed to the history of the country, the culture of the people, as well as generally the government focusing on the social welfare of the people.
Speaking about the social welfare, Botswana has for long been known as the diamond-rich country and one of the richest countries in southern Africa. Now, it is also facing an uphill battle now with synthetic diamonds. And we are seeing increasing unemployment in that country, especially youth unemployment. What do you think? Do you think this will play out?
Yeah, it will play itself out in the elections. For example, Afrobarometer have released their survey for 2024 about Botswana. And the 3 main issues of concern to the citizens, firstly, is unemployment. Secondly, is the health system. And thirdly, is crime and violence. Obviously, these issues will play itself in the elections. For example, unemployment like unemployment among the youth is very high, like in Namibia.
Yes.
And obviously, people vote because there is an expectation that their material condition will change. I think these will be the major issues in this election.
Speaking about material improvements, why do you think, because like you've said, these concerns have been coming on for some time now, a few years now, why do you think the BDP has gotten such a very good victory in the last elections then?
Yeah, I think generally they have some trust amongst the people. But when you followed this campaign and these elections, there are also level of dissatisfactions. Some of them on the governance area, some of them in terms of the performance of the economy, especially the dominance of focusing on the diamond industry without diversifying the economy. The impact of climate change in terms of the drought, when you look at Botswana as an agriculture production country. So even if the governing party was in power for such a long time, you cannot take it for granted. Mm-hmm. Firstly, the dynamics of the population is changing. The people that were there at independence and the people that were there when maybe unemployment and the other factors were not factors, are actually few, and the young population are coming up, and they are the ones that are faced with this unemployment. So you can't take it for granted. The political dynamics are influenced by what is happening in society, the satisfaction level of the citizens. But previously, the government was performing according to the voters. That's why they kept them in power. But you can't take it for granted that it will be so all over the years.
Doctor, Botswana is also very well known for having a very, very strong army presence and influence throughout the government. And you speaking about the increased youth unemployment, the youth becoming impatient about these problems. Do you think we'll see this play out, or do you think the strong hand of the army would still keep them back?
Yeah, I think you have also to some extent a professional army. There are reasons why the military involved in the political spheres. There are theories about it. One of it is what they call the winter of discontent. Yes. When the dissatisfaction in the population is very high, the military comes in to say they are restoring order. Mm-hmm. My professor used to say the problem is when they tested power, they don't leave because they come to restore order and to leave. So the other theory is, of course, what I have explained, that they are there to restore order, especially the democratic order and so on. But I don't think for now that the military want to be dominant in the political sphere. Uh-huh. I think they will adhere to a civilian government, but you can't guarantee it. If the situation comes worse, like I explained, there are also, some say also there's opportunism in the military also, some who want to come to power and so on and so on. But I think for now, generally it is stable.
And one of the biggest obvious differences is it's not a clinical setting like a hospital. Yeah. It's a much more homier environment. And it's got this, it's developed, it's like, for example, at Haus Zietsman. It was an old house that was actually donated to the Cancer Association. And then the ward was developed around that. So it's got this homey feeling. It doesn't feel like your normal clinical hospital ward. Mm-hmm. And patients have their private rooms there. They've got an outside garden where the carers take the patient. It's a peaceful setting. So it's a much more friendlier environment, which actually focuses at the end of the day on improving quality of life for your patients. And that is the main focus of palliative care, because palliative care is essentially improving the quality of life for not only terminal end-of-life patients, but for any patient who is diagnosed with a critical, long-standing terminal condition from day one of diagnosis until the last day. And palliative care entails all of the services which is needed to care for a patient like that.
Yeah. So how does the public access these services? What needs to happen?
That is a challenge we are facing, especially, like I said, in the public sector, because it's lacking in the public sector.
Yeah.
For example, in Cape Town, at Groote Schuur Hospital, they've got which is a public hospital, they've got a department for palliative care services. But it's also only in Groote Schuur, and the bigger hospitals in the other regions or in the other provinces are also lacking these services. And unfortunately, at this moment, we mostly find these services in the private sector, because that is where the development, or that is where investment is made into palliative care. And this is what we also have in Namibia at the moment, because Haus Zietsman, it falls under the umbrella of the Cancer Association of Namibia, like you mentioned. But it's still a privately run clinic at this point of time. And the main goal is to eventually develop the services that we can take these services to the state sector, and then roll out the state care program in collaboration with the private sector, with Haus Zietsman and the staff there. So patients are treated by the treating doctors, usually the physicians, the cardiologists, your internal medicine specialist, and then your oncologist, and then they refer these patients to Haus Zietsman. And after the referral, we have a very in-depth interview with the family and also with the patient, and then we admit the patient in that sense. But for now, we can only admit the patient once we get a referral letter from the specialist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me a bit about the situation on the ground. I mean, you deal with these cases every day. Is it something that can be brought under control, or because everyone is wondering why is there a sudden spike in cancer cases? Has it always been there, or is it a new phenomenon?
That is a very good question, and that is what we are debating about at this moment. We do have improved screening services, picking up cancer cases much earlier, in especially younger patients now in your rural areas compared to previously, because there's more staff now, and the program is being run, it's being brought out into the regions. So that's definitely one of the factors that we're seeing in Namibia, but there's a lot of lifestyle factors like I said, the modern lifestyle is actually not good for our health, and that enhances cancer development. A lot of stress that we're having in this modern age, a lot of smoking. People are smoking a lot. That is not a good habit to have. A lot of cancers arise from that. Very poor diets, especially there's a deficiency in micronutrients, especially in the rural areas, and also with the droughts. The droughts also actually makes it worse nutritional wise, and that is where nutrition has a huge impact on cancer development. And we see that on a daily basis in Namibia. And then also there's factors like hormones, and we're seeing a lot of very younger patients being on hormone treatment and taking contraceptives, and this especially has an influence on breast cancer development. And then also with the water that we consume, there's chemicals in that, and there's a lot of environmental factors that also causes us to have this increase in cancer cases. So yes, unfortunately the modern lifestyle, we think it's good, but we do see it in rising cancer cases. And unfortunately, cancer care is incredibly expensive in this country. And that is why there's such a need for palliative care. Because of...
So as far as the cost is concerned, how do we compare to other jurisdictions?
It's cheaper. That is one of the benefits about palliative care. And that is also what the WHO is actually, they want to roll out more palliative care services in your lower middle income countries because it's much more cost effective. At this moment, we've got the private sector and we've got the public sector in Namibia. And in the private sector at this moment, cancer treatment is really expensive. And unfortunately, not a lot of the patients have access to this treatment.
Yeah.
And then you get cases in the state where it's really advanced cancer, and we can't do anything much about that because we don't have the treatment available in the state. Even pain medication, which is a fundamental point in palliative care services, isn't available in the state sector at this moment. So yes, it's very expensive keeping your patients for long term in a hospital setting, in an ICU setting. And that is what we are also seeing at the center, that the cost benefits are just massive if you compare to what they're getting, what they're actually paying in the hospital setting at this moment. Our Zitzman, like I said, is a private facility.
Yeah.
And they do it. You need to make an upfront a payment if you don't have medical aids, but compared to your hospital benefits and the cost for these treatments, it's much more cost effective. So the treatment for cancer has definitely improved over the past years, and there's so much research going into cancer treatment, and we're seeing there's such a spike in knowledge about cancer treatment. So that has definitely improved, and we don't have to say that it's a death sentence anymore. But like I previously spoke about, the factors of why there's a rise in these cancer cases, lifestyle factors, environmental factors, and then also, like I said, also we picking up earlier during the screening processes. And if you pick it up very early in the screening processes, and that is why going for your yearly checkups, going for your pap smear, going for the prostate exams, going to your GP for your general examination on a yearly basis, and doing these tests and go for the screenings, you can actually pick up the cancer much earlier. And then when you pick it up much earlier, the treatment is so much better. So that is what we also, as at the Cancer Association, that we encourage that people go for their screenings and see their doctors and talk about this, because especially in the male population, we're seeing there's a lack of, I don't want to say knowledge, but there is a lack of there's a lack of the health-seeking behavior is poor. And then you start picking up cancer cases at a much later stage. And then it starts getting much more difficult to treat the case. So the earlier we detect the cancer, the much your prognosis is much better. And then, like I said, it's not a death sentence, it's a treatable condition, and you can actually live many years in remission. Yes, so again, I'm advocating go to your GP, go do your screenings on an annual basis, and get checked out, because that's where you pick it up very early.
So maybe from a personnel and skills perspective, how is palliative care Namibia doing in that regard?
Okay, so the screening, what I was talking about, that is mostly done by Cancer Association of Namibia, and they've got the staff trained to do these screenings. Palliative care in Namibia focuses more on the palliative care aspect. We don't do the full screening of these patients, but we do assist them if they need assistance. But our main focus is treating or admitting our palliative care patients, advocating for these patients, health education, talking about what is palliative care, spreading the word, and developing the program, or this national program of palliative care network, which we can enroll in the regions.